Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Jacobs. I'm a gaming sustainability project manager here in Xbox.
Hi, I'm Alex Labulico, Forge producer on Halo Infinite.
We're here today to educate you in 10 short minutes about how any studio can adopt actionable and impactful sustainability initiatives in your games. But, and importantly, at no cost to gameplay fidelity, because we definitely want games to continue looking, sounding, and feeling as good as humanly possible. So let's get started. I wanted to get right into this presentation by sharing a slide with just a curated handful of articles that are being increasingly written about video games' impact on the environment. Now, increasingly, these stories from both the gaming press and wider news media reflect that video game sustainability should be an area of focus for all of us. Energy waste is one such area, and if we take just energy prices around the world, they have been increasing dramatically. I mean, here in the UK where I live, my electricity bill increased almost threefold. Plus, and perhaps more importantly, the broader conversation of decarbonisation is at an all-time high. Therefore, the video games industry is slowly realising that whilst we continue to entertain gamers foremost, we also have an incredible opportunity to recognise our influence over billions of gamers to offer leadership, education, and most importantly, actionable change. But what is the size of the challenge and what can we do? The electricity generated to power electrical devices, such as gaming consoles and video games, is sourced from a combination of carbon-intensive fossil fuels and renewable energy. In the case of gaming, the average annual gameplay emissions for one gamer, if played each day for 1 year, would be approximately equal to 72 kilograms of CO2e equivalent, or the equivalency shown at the top of the screen. Now, we at Microsoft and Xbox have an ambition to be carbon negative by 2030 as an organisation. We know many other organisations are increasingly adopting similar ambitions. Therefore, finding energy efficiency opportunities in ways that do not lower gameplay fidelity for our gamers will provide strong environmental benefits and increase customer satisfaction. This is because it helps to lower energy wastage, lower customers' energy bills, and lower their carbon footprint at the same time. Now, research unequivocally shows that significant numbers of gamers are more willing to shop with brands who are environmentally conscious and proactive about it than those who are not. In response to increasing requests from different studios, we have been developing new tooling and guidance to help you see the power consumption of titles. In the Pix tool, which is in the GDK, you can now see real-time power consumption of your games when running on your dev kit. We've also now built telemetry, which shows us the global average power consumption of games that developers can leverage for an even greater insight into platform averages. I'll now hand you over to Alex, who can show you how they use these tools to pass along sustainability benefits to our customers and content creators.
Thank you, Dan. Hi, everyone. In this section, I will walk you through the 7 steps we use to make Halo Infinite more sustainable. We hope this can be helpful to anyone interested in launching their own initiative. Step 1. Call to action. The first step on our sustainability journey at 343 was a call to action from Trista Patterson, Director of Sustainability on Dan's team. If you're lucky enough to be part of a larger organization that has already invested in sustainability, I encourage you to reach out and connect with those people. That is what got our project up and running. Dan and his team gave us access to the data we needed to understand the impact of next-gen gaming. If you don't have this option, feel free to reach out to our gaming sustainability team to help you get started. Step 2. Create your pitch. I don't come from a sustainability background myself, so I spent time learning about the issue. You don't need to be an expert to make a difference. As many producers will tell you, listing problems is easier than coming up with solutions. Dan and his team helped me understand that we had 3 potential solutions we could focus on. Code improvements, narrative, for example, adding a sustainability-themed story to our game, or hardware improvements, like the recent Xbox update making it carbon aware. We decided to focus on code, because at the time I was working on the engine team, which just so happened to be full of people who were passionate about reducing their game's carbon footprint. Step 3. Align with your leadership team. When I went to our studio leadership to get approval, I wanted to convince them that this was a necessary effort. So I put together a data-driven deck. But I also put myself in their shoes and understood the fact that they wouldn't want to jeopardize our production timelines with a new project. One of the things we did to avoid this was leveraging self-directed time, also known as the time that had already been set aside for developers to work on their own projects. I really recommend looking for opportunities like this and not biting off more than you can chew. Step 4. Assemble your team. Once I got the green light from our leads, the goal was to spread the word. We set up monthly newsletters to gather people who wanted to be involved. I wanted to avoid guilting people into action, so I focused instead on sharing what I had learned. For example, thanks to the EPA greenhouse gas calculator, we were able to identify that electricity used to power Xbox consoles running Halo games generated approximately 22,000 metric tons of CO2 in 2022. That's the equivalent of 50,000 barrels of oil or 5,000 gas-powered cars. I was honestly surprised by how many people agreed that this was important. And you might find the same passion within your studio. In fact, some of my colleagues were so passionate that I found myself having to remind them that this initiative couldn't be prioritized over their regular work. Step 5. Find your focus. Because we spread the word to the whole studio, we ended up with a good mix of volunteers. Artists, tech artists, producers, and engineers. At this point, we have a team. We know we want to improve our code, but we don't know exactly where to start. We just knew we had to start small. We wrote down everyone's ideas and estimated the cost and benefit. The idea we decided to run with came from one of our tech artists. He figured out that when the game was paused and the screen was blurred to display the settings, we were still rendering a 4K image in the background that the player couldn't even see. So we decided to lower the resolution of our pause menu in order to reduce power consumption without impacting the player experience. The work was then implemented by one of our graphics engineers who had also developed our progressive resolution system for launch. Step 6. Measure your impact. The lower resolution in the pause menu significantly reduced the load on the GPU, which decreased power consumption by about 15%. Extra savings could be made by lowering frame rate as well. This was easily observable thanks to the pix counter tool that Dan mentioned earlier. Let's look at what we've done in Halo Infinite. On the left, you can see our regular campaign gameplay running on Xbox Series X at 4K 60 frames per second. We've measured power consumption with multiple devices and confirmed our total power draw was 64% of our GPU capacity. On the right, you can see the benefit of our sustainability feature in action. The game is paused in the same location, but the resolution is automatically lowered to 1080p. We were able to measure a 55% power draw on the GPU after the change. In short, we are saving 15% on our power consumption without any impact to the player experience. The result is invisible to the player. Once we had actually developed a functional change, we were able to prove that we could work together and earn the trust of our leadership team. This first small step was also an opportunity to define a benchmark for our team and start thinking about bigger power-saving opportunities for the future. Last step, step 7, release your work. Find an appropriate release vehicle, let your players know you care about sustainability, and gather their feedback to ensure your change hasn't impacted their experience with your game. Our main goal remains to reduce our carbon footprint without our players noticing the changes we've made. More to explore. 1. Efficiency in code is a great first step, but there are other areas you should investigate, such as sustainability in stories, hardware updates, or even the electricity consumption of your studio. Lights, monitors, consoles, PCs, servers, fridges. We can always do better on this front. 2. Share learnings with your peers, whether at GDC, during a cross-studio presentation, or just by chatting with your colleagues to raise awareness. 3. Define standards for the industry. Just like accessibility, sustainability should be a key principle of game development and a topic of conversation in production stages like concept and pre-production. But it's never too late to reduce your carbon footprint. As a matter of fact, Halo Infinite is a live product, and we're committed to keep making it more efficient. Now back to Daniel.
Thanks, Alex. That was great. I'll quickly summarise by saying that we'll be exploring tooling, case studies, and more general guidance in our showcase presentation at GDC 2023, and also in a couple of months at Xbox's XFest developer event. Please check out the tooling in the GDK. Please start a conversation with your friendly Microsoft point of contact to learn more. And finally, there are well-attended public forums that you can join, featuring some of the biggest names in the industry, in alliances like the UN's Playing for the Planet and the International Game Developer Alliance's Climate Special Interest Group. Thanks for your time, everyone.